Today, I want to touch categorizing the email lists because that is what has been a common thread over the last few days. I suspect that the last 3 or 4 videos I've mentioned them. So it's been a pretty strong piece of recurring nightmare. It's probably putting the email list in is probably the final piece of infrastructure that I need to put in place in order to self-publish effectively. And it's also like the biggest procrastination magnet in my life because I really don't like creating emails. It's not hard. It's just, it's not fun. So it shows up like drudgery for me. Like if I can have fun helping somebody else put their emails together, I'm all for it. But as soon as I have to write my own emails, I'm like, ugh, can't I go to the dentist? Working the email setup problem from top down has been kind of on my mind the last few days. Kind of pot in the back of the stove. It's kind of boiling slow. And I think I figured out how I'm going to do it because yesterday I was playing with Pet AI and doing some data crunching. I got kind of frustrated trying to pull stuff out. Basically, I was at that brain baked stage of I've been working and creating and producing content for 9 hours at the time. So like my brain wasn't functioning. I was feeling kind of like brain fatigue. And I hit the call to action on the final piece of content that I was producing. And it was basically, I want to link what post do I want to recommend to on my website from this post that I just made for my website. So I'm sitting here, not like the wires weren't connected. So I'm like, okay, let's see if the AI can handle this. So I dropped in my website. So I dropped in my web address onto the AI and I said, please analyze this. This is the post that I'm creating right here. Please analyze the website by this domain and find an appropriate connection point. And they did. I'm using an AI interface called Perplexity, which works for me. I enjoy working with it. It's kind of fun. It does pretty quick research, and you helped me with that Neolithic story the other day. And I'm wondering if I can't go through and use the AI tool to help organize the emails. So I got a bunch of different stuff, and this is something I talked to about with a fellow at practice this morning. Yesterday morning, Friday. And I'd said, I've got a bunch of different categories of stuff. So if I go and have somebody who's interested in a expert selling book that basically that explains your product and your service to a potential customer to boost your credibility, because instead of handing out a business card that costs $2.90 for 1,000, you're handing out here's a book on everything you'll need to know about this product, this process. Now you see how much of an expert I am, and you can trust me to do your handle your sales. It's a Jordan Belfort, it's a Robert Cialdini, all those sales and influence guys all talk about building up your credibility as a sales person. So if you get that new salesperson walk over to you, you can smell it because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. That's why that's why people don't trust new salespeople with their money, because you can smell the inexperience on them. They don't know the product. They don't know you. They don't know how to handle the sale. And it just questions. The confused mind, questioning mind is never going to buy anything. So when you remove questions by establishing firmly up front that I am the expert, you're in a position where you can close the sale better and faster. you have a higher probability of closing the sale. You may not get this one, but you get the next one. Like, well, someone who is a professional, I'm going to use real estate agent because that's what Regina is. A professional real estate agent who's a top producer may or may not be interested in like the coloring books. So I made a coloring book as a joke. It's the Easy Animals coloring book. It's all like a bunch of zebras and pandas, black and white animals. So it's like, there's no animal coloring. It's all coloring like the trees and stuff. So the animals are the easy animals to color. So like, unless you want to get like the dirty fur around the panda's foot, color that shit, and go right ahead. It's your coloring book. But I made it for fun, and I need to use it as a relaxation tool to get my own head fixed. The expert sales, the person who might be interested in the expert sales book, commissioning an expert sales book, probably doesn't have enough time to sit back and relax and color. So getting back to the email categories, I do not want those people on that same email address, that same email message, right? So when you're structuring your email and outlining who gets what, you need to track your categories, and you need to track, you can run some general introductory emails. Hi, this is Beat Cutting Emails. But then you have to make product specific emails. And I think what I'm going to try to do when I get home from Saturday slaughters, I think I'm going to take my website and drop my work on the website into the AI and say, hey, Mr. AI, could you please interpret all the different categories for the different sales pieces and parts that we need to talk about for an email list, all the email lists we need to produce. Then I think I can go through and I can fairly quickly take that list of different interested email segments, related email segments. And I think that that'll take a big chunk out of the elephant I have to eat. And it might very quickly solve this problem that's been sitting in the forebrain for like a week. It might be fun to see what the results are, but it'd definitely make the presentation a heck of a lot easier. And the way that Perplexity went in and reviewed my site and then pulled out the best relevant page to link through as like, I just finished reading this awesome post about yesterday's pieces of parts. Here's the next link. If you're interested, keep reading about this topic. The way that Perplexity did that and spat out something better than my little brain was capable of spitting out I suspect that I'm going to get a pretty darn good result. Now, I probably need to talk about prompting your pet AI. I mean, I already had a similar conversation, actually physically prompting, assembling your prompts that the AI knows the hell you're talking about. Because prompting your AI and using its results for two different things. So I may have to look at that in the future. So yeah. So once I know that I'm going to have to make basically two types of emails. The two types of emails that I'm going to have to produce are going to be the personal introductory emails. Hi, this is Doug kind of stuff. And then I'm going to have to make the product and interest specific kind of emails, because you don't necessarily want to expose your science fiction crowd to your coloring book crowd. And I've got both. So if we're going to have a coherent conversation, you can't, if we're going to have a coherent conversation of one line, you can't begin with, hi, I'm really interested in your science fiction. Can you tell me more about it? And then you can say that as the guest, as the visitor, as the initiator of the conversation. I, as the respondent, I can't say to you, interested in science fiction, I have this really great coloring book. You're gonna think I'm a freaking retard. You're immediately going to like close that conversation because it's annoying. It shows that I have not listened to what your request is. So we need to have a coherent message arrive with somebody. You can't continue with a different conversation from what someone's question is. It's freaking rude. And it's the responsibility of me as the sender, me as the respondent, to talk to you in a language that you are using, in a topic that you are using. It's just think how what the hell are these people doing here? Just think how rude that is. Think somebody forgot to exit and they're trying to shove their way in. BDX. Houston traffic is a full contact sport. I think I've said that like a dozen times in the last week too. So it's my responsibility as the initiator of the conversation. Excuse me. It is my responsibility as the respondent to your question to answer your question. Then that's all an email response is. It's a response to your question about my product. And it's typically a fairly easy response because you can set up the email response to send out news and information about these different pieces parts. And not everything is going to be relevant to everyone. But when you set up like the email responder, you kind of have to give people access to their interests, or you're never going to produce anything that's going to, like, I can't just send out random crap that people aren't interested in. That's the fast track to unsubscribe in the spam filter. So this is something it's kind of important. It's like, I think that the email response and the email system set up in place is physically the last piece of foundation that I need to build. And I've been building this foundation for like 18 months. So this has not been a quick process. This has been a lot of work. So I think last count on my webpage, I had something like 90 posts, because I've got 48 posts alone on episodes of the Guards, like me reading the science fiction book. So I've got like 48 posts on that alone. It's 5 pages of posts. I have probably close to 100 and something posts and unpublished drafts. But there's not too many unpublished drafts. I have like castles, cool shit like that I've started, but I haven't finished. Those kind of things that those projects you start, it's like they just kind of pile up in the garage because you started whacking on it, and then you've got all the pieces and parts. You just have to put it together. I got a bunch of those in the form of blog posts. So if I turn around and I put I think I've got close to like 120 something posts on the site as either published work or drafts. I know I've got something like 40 some odd pages of content related to like books and organizational stuff. And then I've got through WooCommerce, I've created a bunch of product pages related to those pieces of parts and services. So like if you want to buy a book from the online store on the website, instead of going off site to pick it up at a discount, I have to create a WooCommerce page in order to post that product. So if there's some page content overlap between the pages, the products, and the posts, but the categories, the interest categories are relatively coherent. I got to be pushing something like 200 pages, posts, and products on the web page now. So I've pretty much done enough of that stuff. I cannot think of another piece of infrastructure I'm going to need to put into place beyond the email list. And that's mostly got to be, that is the tool that we need to create in order to have that coherent conversation with that coherent audience that we want to put in front of Amazon. And if we can have that coherent conversation with Amazon about the people who should be interested in this piece of art product, I will have a much better audience created. And then Amazon, the machine behind the machine brain behind the Amazon sales algorithm, will have a much more coherent audience to base its actions on. So if I send those people to Amazon who are interested in science fiction, Amazon then has a coherent list of people with similar interests that it can base and present the book to. So like Andy Weir, I think his name was, the author of The Martian. He produced The Martian. I think it was like on a forum or something, but he was collecting email addresses. So he had like 600,000 email addresses to start with. And he was publishing the Martian as like a short story and built up this massive list of fans. So when he published the book, he was sending out to segments of his list, and he seeded the book. And The Martian came out a while ago because it's already been a movie, and movies take forever to get put together. But when The Martian was released, he kind of, I'm pretty sure he drip fed to his email audience that, hey, the book is coming out on such and such a date. And he drip fed to his audience, and the audience went out and purchased the book. And because the audience was so large and so coherent, it turned around and produced this massive first time author bestseller. And he created and cultivated his own audience on Amazon, teaching the algorithm, the machine that shows people what they might be interested in. He taught the machine by driving his own coherent audience. So as a self-publishing author, it's very important that you have your coherent audience. And that comes out of the email list of people interested in your work, fans interested in your work. So again, as a self-published author, in 2011, when I first published my books, I had that Amazon bestseller rank, I did not do a good job. I did not do a job producing an email list. So I could go back and have that conversation later and present for the third book. So now I have to play the whole catch-up game, produce the email list and such. But anyway, I'm here. I'm late. Have a good morning.